started. Our next candidate hails from the great state of New Jersey. Now, Cory. I know Cory Booker very, very well. I've worked very closely with him over the years. And when I came out with my concept of 10, 20, 30, which means at least 10% of all the money appropriated in this section of the appropriations bill should be spent in those counties where 20% or more of the population's been stuck beneath the poverty level for the last 30 years. I didn't come up with that formula. The Census Bureau says when there's 20% poverty that has existed in a county or a community for more than 30 years, that's a persistent poverty county. Ladies and gentlemen, Orangeburg County is one of those counties. Bamberg County, one of those counties. Clarendon County, one of those counties. We have 13 counties in Carolina, John Matthews can tell you about, that fall into that category. So Cory Booker wouldn't sign under my legislation because I call it counties. And he called me one day. He says, now I like this concept. If we can turn counties into communities, you got me. I took the hint and turned counties into communities so Newark and all its communities could be included as well. I kind of like New Jersey a little bit because Emily and I got married in New Jersey. And it worked for us. And New Jersey has worked for Cory Booker. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Senator Cory Booker.
Appreciate you so much. All right. Yo, I got to get down here because you all, come on now. Come on now. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I want to thank the new chairman here. I want to thank Ms. Henderson. And I definitely want to thank my Congressman Clyburn. Give it up for the leadership on the stage. I am raring to go, and I'm going to have to do it. You all might not invite me back, but I just need to tell you a story about a church in Newark. You know, there was this pastor having a tough time with two little boys in his church, and they were cutting up during the service, and so he finally just brings the two brothers down to his office to have a conversation with him. He puts the youngest boy outside the office, brings the older boy in, and the older boy sits in the chair in front of the pastor's desk, and that little boy's got his arms crossed, staring at the pastor disrespectfully, and the pastor doesn't know what to do, so he thanks for a second, sees his Bible on the desk, and he puts his hand on the Bible and just says in a baritone voice, he says, "My son, tell me, where is God?" And at that point, the boy's head snaps back, and he looks at the pastor, and the pastor thinks, I've got his attention, so maybe I should double down on what I'm doing. And he picks up his Bible, puts it over his head, and says, "My son, I don't know if you heard me the first time, where is God?" And at this point, this boy starts shaking in his chair, looking at the pastor, really worried. And the pastor thinks, I've got this young man, finally. And he stands up in front of his desk, big man with his baritone voice. He says, as if it's a Sunday sermon, he yells, and he says, "My son, tell me right now, where is God?" And at this point, the boy doesn't wait. He jumps up out of his seats, runs past the pastor, runs out of the pastor's office, sees his little brother sitting there, grabs his little brother by the hand and says, "Man, God is missing, and the pastor thinks we took him. We got to get out of here." Let me tell you right now, there are a lot of people looking at the world. We got a crisis in the Middle East, a president betraying words, the Russians getting stronger, the Iranians getting stronger, people asking, where is God? We got a situation at home, people going bankrupt because of their medical bills. People can't afford their prescription drugs. People asking, where is God? We got a nation that says we love our children, but we're defunding our schools. People asking, how could this be? But the question today in this era is not, where is God? The question is, where are we? We have the power. We have the strength. We have come this far as a community over more difficult challenges, over more high mountains. We all are the physical manifestation of our ancestors' wildest dreams. This election is not a referendum on one guy in one office. This presidential election is a referendum on who we are and who we are going to be to each other. Remember, Donald Trump got less votes than Mitt Romney got. Martin Luther King said it so eloquently. He said, what we have to repent for in this day and age is not just the vitriolic words and violent actions of the bad people, it's the appalling silence and inaction of the good people. And we have to understand right now, this has been a painful stretch because so many of the heroes that brought us over are starting to pass from this earth and go home. Whether it's Miss Emily, the great wife of Congressman Clyburn, whether it's Elijah Cummings, who just passed away. We're seeing our heroes from the civil rights generation be called home. But our challenge today is not to mourn their loss. Our challenge today is to honor those who've passed by showing that we will continue their legacy, by understanding we stand on their shoulders, and we can never pay them back, but we've got to pay it forward. This election is about us. It is about our work. It is about our sacrifice. It's about what we learned when we were worshiping that faith without works is dead. And so now I'm calling on everybody. I'm running for president because I believe this is an election. We got to call each other together. We got to rise up to the challenges. We got to make sure that we ignite a chorus of conviction again, because there's no problem in this country that's bigger than the people of this nation if we stand together and work together and come together. Now, I know this. A lot of folks are angry. Well, I'm angry too. But we can't let Donald Trump make us like Donald Trump. You can't beat darkness with darkness. You can't beat hate with hate. I was running into a town hall up in Iowa, and I was about to get on that stage, and some big guy sees me. I'm a big guy. Former tight end for Stanford University, former All-American football player. The older I get, the better I was. Come on now. This big dude sees me, puts his arm around me and says, dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face. And I look at him and I go, dude, that's a felony, man. Us black guys, we don't get away with that stuff. We're not going to beat Donald Trump by being like Donald Trump. We're going to beat him by being us, by showing our truth, by showing our love, by showing our work, by showing our conviction. I will not lose this election. We will not lose this election. There is too much on the line. And we see from the Russians to many Republicans here that are trying to take away our voting rights, take away women's rights, roll back civil rights, take away the abilities and the gains that we've made over the years. That is an insult to our ancestors. And so now I call upon everybody here. This is a state that can change the destiny of the nation. Are on sacred ground right here in South Carolina. You all can make sure that we not just win the presidency. You can make sure that Mitch McConnell is no longer the leader of the Senate. We can send Jamie Harrison to Washington. We can make sure that we have a cabinet that's not an embarrassment, but we can make sure we have a Secretary of Education that actually taught in public schools. We can make sure that somebody's running the Environmental Protection Agency that really wants to protect the environment. We can make sure that the next Supreme Court vacancy that opens up is by put somebody there that actually believes in the Constitution. The power is in our hands. And from our ancestors, I now call upon everybody here. I call upon you to remember what Maya Angelou said. They may write us down in history with their bitter, twisted lies. They may try to trot us down in the very dirt, but still like dust. It is time for us to rise. Say it with me, we rise. For our children, we rise. For our seniors, say it, we rise. For justice, say we rise. For the future, say we rise. For love and justice in America, together we will. All right.